Hey guys, this is Dwayne Cameron, and this is a shout out to Action Activate.
Hey, it's me, Gazbot, for Action Activate. And if I am Gazbot, and this is Action Activate, Mystic Force, puppy coach,
So we're here to review episode 2 of Mystic Force. We talked about it the other day, and now we're reviewing it, and you get to enjoy it as your Action Activate episode of the week, viewers. So thank you for being here. Yep.
Imagine if I just did the whole episode like that. I would not break.
I probably would leave.
Yeah, so this is Broken Spell Part 2, Mystic Force. Our whole schedule is a little wacky. Like, episodes are going up every week. We're doing 2 episodes every week, but we're sort of trying to bank some for some weeks we know that we might not be able to record, but there's also stuff that's topical, so we're trying to put that out and like whatever. So this was supposed to go up last week on Thursday, and I don't know when it's going up. This week when you're watching it, one of these.
And if you're well into the future, none of this matters.
None of this matters. Okay, so Broken Spell Part 2. Oh, let me put it up here.
So what are your initial impressions going from Part 1 to Part 2?
It similar in the sense that my impressions are, okay, this is a continuation of what I was watching last week. It feels like a 1-hour movie premiere, which is cut up. And it didn't greatly make me like or dislike anything vastly more than I previously did. It felt like, okay, this is what I expect.
I still am a huge fan of Korag and continue to be.
Korag looks awesome. I already liked the way he looked, and like it was one of those figures that, having never seen the show, if there was a Lightning Collection figure out, I was gonna get it. Because like even if I hate him, it's so cool looking, whatever. One of the things when I say okay, so in the beginning, that was my initial impression. Do we want to get into it or?
Oh, yeah. So let's dive in. So the last we saw, the Rangers minus Red are all banding together, and Red decides that he needs to leave because he's
believe in magic.
Yeah,
they're laying at the foot of Korag, who's just like, I'm here to destroy you now. And they're like, oh, and Red's off with I'm gonna look it up, Claire, who is in sheet form. And so here we pick it up from here.
Yeah.
I do like that somebody mentioned this in the comments that Xander is always trying to reason with people. I guess that's like his thing. And I guess I do like Xander a little tiny bit more this time because he tried it again. And I kind of like the idea that that's his running gag. Like, let's talk this out. It like never works. Like, I don't know. I like that as a running gag.
To me, I like it being a running gag. I don't like that it's like multiple times in an episode.
Did he do it twice in this one? I think he only did it once.
I felt like he did it multiple. Well, he did it with the cronies. The what are they called? The Hideax? Weird name.
I heard Idiacs, which sounds like idiots, but I don't know if that's correct.
I think it's Hideax.
Hideax? Okay, that makes sense because they're hideous. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
as cronies, I know we do this each show. What are your thoughts on them?
I talked about it last week. I think they look awesome. They don't really have much personality or anything that really stands out until later. They do some kind of like mouth blast thing, which is kind of cool, unique. I would definitely, like with this show so far, I would definitely put them in the upper half of what I think of cronies. I think and going back to Lightning Collection, they're cool looking. I would definitely get a couple if they made Lightning Collection figures. And they are the type of figures like Korag, where if I wasn't a Power Rangers collector, I could put them on my horror shelf, or have Hellboy fighting them, or put them with Doctor Strange, or like they have a cool look.
What were your thoughts on Korag immediately going into like monster Megazord Centaur form?
Well, terrible CGI for a minute.
Yeah.
I like the practical effects were good and it was cool looking, but it seemed like crazy overkill. Because he's like, oh, you're a bunch of civilians that don't even have your powers. I could easily destroy you all, but I'm going to merge and get huge. Why? It seemed way overkill, unnecessary. But my thought of that was immediately trumped by, wow, she just got huge to fight him. That's awesome. I love this fight, and that's the Ultraman lover in me. That's just like, and you don't see that all the time. So I thought that was awesome. And I love that he kicked her butt. Because it's like she's tough, but he's even tougher, and yeah.
And you don't see a lot, especially in Power Rangers, centaur or horse-like Zords. So him being like that, especially still being like humanoid, I was like, oh, you guys are about to get wrecked.
Yeah. I very much enjoy it. I also like that this is a magic themed show, and he everything he does, he's doing like little incantations, like and then it opens and then he teleports Ayuro, and then he's a centaur. I like that. It's kind of like the opposite of when they had the pirate theme and it had nothing to do with anything and they never even mentioned it.
Yeah.
It's it's magic, so he's doing magic. Great, I like that.
Yeah. I also like the dramatic, he beats her wand sticks in, she does the demorph, all of that I thought was cool, just to reestablish how he is not Goldar. He will win, and he will continue to win, and good luck.
Yeah. And I also like, it's bad. I didn't catch this the first time around. He grabs her staff. I thought it was his own weapon. I just wasn't paying attention closely. So then later when they were fighting over, I'm like, oh, I guess he has her weapon, and that's why she can't morph, whatever. But they did establish that earlier, so that was just me not thinking.
I also like that being a thing, and I like this in most stuff, but especially in Power Rangers, where it's like, well, what's a way that we can quote unquote even the odds? Oh, take out a thing that could potentially tip the scales. If they have a full team who's semi-strong and a veteran ranger with seemingly more power, it's like, we'll take that away, and now we got to actually progress a little bit. Agreed.
I also like, going back to the staff thing, that we get bad guy politics right away. I like when it's not just this united front of everybody's on the same page. They all have their own little things. These two are kind of what are they doing? I don't know. Also, somebody in the comments, and forgive me, I'm mentioning the comments because we do read them, but I don't have my notes in front of me, so I'm not calling out who said these things. I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody was mentioning, because you had said oh, they're all magic, but then this guy's like a machine.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
They had mentioned that all of the main villains are universal classic monsters. Like Wolazard is the wolf, and the other lady is the vampire. And I don't know if they said this or not, but then the machine guy, that would make him Frankenstein's monster in my mind.
I believe so. Yeah, I think that's what they said.
I liked that. Once they said that, I'm like, on board. Perfect. You got it.
Yeah. Claire gets turned back, thankfully, which is good.
Yes. And Udana makes a point of saying, I'm trying to make you learn. Because before, I'm like, why wouldn't she turn her back? But it was a lesson. So great. Okay, I'm in.
Yeah. The one thing that's difficult for me through most of this episode is the cohesiveness of four of them, and then just the sore thumb that is red.
Well, yeah, but that's not unusual in Power Rangers to have the Red Ranger that's reluctant or off doing his own thing or wants to be it's not new.
I agree, but I feel like in most other instances there are better reasons why they are the odd person out, as opposed to this where it's just nope, I'm leaving. But it's there's literally a wolf knight right here that we need to fight. I'm leaving.
I had an issue with him not believing in magic. Because it's that thing of when somebody's like aliens destroy the school, the principal's like, aliens, are you kidding me? So I had a problem with him I don't believe in magic, having just seen a bunch of magic. But I don't have a problem with him leaving, because they later on, he talks to I think it's Madison, and he's like, I'm moving on. I'm gonna go see if I can live with my sister instead of my cousins or my grandparents, because my parents are away. And so it makes it clear he moves around a lot. He doesn't really have friends. He's not used to putting down roots. He's not used to relying on people, even his own parents. So it's yeah, it doesn't make him a bad guy. He's just I'm not a joiner. I'm not a group guy. He is a good person. He tried to help someone. He's like, what, I'm going to stay here?
I agree until superpowers are involved.
Okay. All right. I do like that they had the wands and turned them into cell phones. I know people are sick of cell phone morphers. And
this one makes the most sense.
Yeah. This wasn't even the first one, because I think Wild Force did it. And
Wild Force had them, but those made less sense.
Yes. But this was I'm going to use magic to make them look like something you'd have in your everyday life. And they said this line, I don't know how much it comes into play. there's a good bit of comedy here.
I did like this running joke.
level of-
I like that running joke better than let's talk about this.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. But I guess with the let's talk about this, my hope is that it gets funnier later. Like the more you do it, it just becomes a thing.
Yeah.
What was I saying? Mr. Fourth. Oh, she said something about spell codes, like putting the numbers in, which again, that corresponds to runes or spells or whatever. And so that alone is enough, but I would like it if later that comes into play a little bit more.
Yeah, I thought of that too, but it was unfortunate that we're kind of jumping around. But at the end, none of that is used.
Yeah, well, then they had the standard like, oh, we're rangers, so we know everything now, and it's all fine.
Yeah, so I'm with you until the end of the episode.
One thing I forgot, you can't see it here, but when he was walking with the sheep, he's got a leather jacket and he has these wide, kind of baggy boot cut jeans, and it looks terrible. But I can say that because I used to wear a very similar outfit for a number of years around this time. I had a biker leather jacket that I wore, which didn't look bad, but for whatever reason, I had these big boot cut pants that were just like wide,
boot cut pants were the move around this time. I'm with you.
It was not,
especially in the rain, it was not good.
No, you get those like little muddy fringes on the bottom. But that, a lot of people wearing that, but specifically like the biker jacket with that, not a good look. He's doing it. I did it, but it's not a good look.
I feel like you're having more self-reflection than reviewing this.
Absolutely. Because if you look at, I don't know how well you can see, but if you look at my personal Facebook page, and this isn't for everybody, but for Big Dawg or those that happen to know me personally, on top, I have an image from me when I was in a wrestling ring, and I'm wearing the exact outfit I'm talking about. And I watched the full video, and it like I almost look kind of like I could be a wrestling character, except for these stupid big baggy pants. Like,
you know what the difference is though between you and Nick?
What?
You would have accepted the Red Ranger powers.
Yes, and also I didn't have a costume designer on set telling me to wear that. No, I would have been Chip. I would have been like, awesome, we're doing it. What's going on? This is awesome. Let's go.
Learning
Chip
more lessons here. As we go,
the teacher is the student at this point because Claire's like, yo, you gave me chances. Why are you not going to give Nick a chance? Right. And she's like, yo, you're right.
Yeah.
But
I forgot because she goes and visits him, but she's like in astral form, and he seems like he's crazy talking to himself. And she's got very much like Professor McGonagall vibes for those who like Harry Potter.
I can see that. Yeah. Like good and fair, but kind of terse and doesn't have time for BS. This is the part here.
She doesn't put up with a lot of grief.
I do think it was a good joke that the guy's staring. He's like, what are you looking at? She's like, they can't see me. Like, I think that was a good joke that made me look. Yeah. Also, go ahead.
I do also find it interesting that in this scene, he's like, I got to fix my bike and get out of here. And then like 10 minutes from now, he's like, you know what? This bike's going to end up like in a stump. But whatever.
Well, yeah, but then that was in the heat of battle.
There's other ways to enter a battle. I don't know if you're aware of any of them, but
I would have rammed the guy with my bike. I wouldn't have jumped off my bike, but that was still an awesome like visual. So I'm not going to complain too much.
Yeah.
I also like though in this, she's like, you were the first one to volunteer to help. He's like, how do you know? And she turns into the old man. Because previously, I'm like, that old man has to be. Isn't that her?
Yeah.
And so like,
I thought it was somebody else, but I'm glad it was her.
It had to be her or her assistant. I'm like, I thought it was her, but there's a lot in this one that answered or confirmed things I had from the first episode, which I liked. Like it whatever level of enjoyment or quality overall, it's like, well, it does have a continuity. It has a logical structure. It's not like it doesn't make sense. It's not, so far nothing has happened where I was like, what? That's stupid. Like, which even some of the best seasons will have moments like that. And this probably will eventually, but at least not in the first 2 episodes for me.
Yeah. I also like how she's like, trying to reason with him. And then finally is like, your bike's done. You have no excuses anymore. And he's like, well, I'm leaving.
Oh, yeah. And he was leaving, but then he sees the vision. That's what it was. I forgot.
Yeah. Which again, I'm like, okay. Like,
I was unclear if she gave that to him or that was his powers manifesting or what.
I also was unsure which way it went, but also like, again, I'm not totally knocking him, but the Reluctant Red storyline is in the lower tier versus others we've seen.
I don't disagree with that. I didn't notice. I caught when they got him that Chip's like, nice cloaks. I didn't see that Pink was like, I hate Pink.
That was one thing I wanted to point out. I love that, and she did this in episode 1 as well. She mentioned it once or twice of like Pink's not her favorite color. She doesn't like it, things like that. And I like that adds a level where a lot of times, that one of the bigger Power Ranger tropes is, well, good thing they don't know I'm a Ranger because I'm wearing the color of the Ranger I am. Whereas with this, she's one of the few where she's like, I love being a Power Ranger. I hate the color pink. And you're like, that's just a hand you're dealt sometimes. It's how it be. So I really like that.
It makes me think of, I forget, do you ever listen to MC Front a lot? The nerdcore rapper? No. There's a song he has called All Form the Head, which is it's about Voltron or Power Rangers of all this stuff. But there's one of the guys that has the pink rhinoceros. And he's like, and the line is like, it's just my luck and something stuff that my bot is lightish red. Like he won't even call it pink. He calls it lightish red. I always thought it was funny in the song.
Nice.
But I thought here at the beginning of the scene when they got their like cloak outfits or magic outfits, I'm like, oh, they're kind of fighting. I guess now they sort of have their civilian ranger chops, but no, they still got annihilated, and so then they morphed. I also like that they were like, cloaks off, time to morph, cloaks on. They could have just like left them on. There's a lot of unnecessary theatrics here, which I'm not against.
Yeah, I'm not against it. This episode did feel very padded in this area, though.
Yes, but it is the first morph, the new team. Like I give all the passes in the world the first time they do it. If this starts happening every episode, it starts to get very old.
Yeah, agreed.
Also, and I can't believe how long it took me to catch on to this. Huge Go Ranger vibes. Huge Sentai Go Ranger vibes. I don't know if it was an anniversary season or anything like that, but I mean, obviously there were capes, and Go Ranger wore capes. But in Go Ranger, the comedic guy was yellow, Key Ranger. The comedic guy in this is yellow. They all kind of have that look. Pink doing all that flourishes with the cape and like kind of fighting. That reminded me of Go Ranger. But nothing, and I'm jumping ahead here. But the thing that really solidified it for me, Red does a magic attack where he turns one of them into a ball, and then he kicks the ball as his finisher. That's the Go Ranger finisher.
Literally Go Ranger, yeah.
That cannot be a coincidence. That has to be on purpose. I do love these too. How they all have their moment of like super attack.
Yeah.
It
is a thing where I have mixed feelings when people get their extra powers in Power Rangers other than just morphing. Like you have an extra auxiliary ability and like
lightning or whatever,
and right away you can kind of do it. I feel like in recent memory, especially for this era, the best I can think of is Dino Thunder, where everybody kind of did it like haphazardly, so it felt a lot more organic, whereas this one, like in the first episode and this one, they're like, and I do this, and granted this episode is Sentai footage, but the first episode it was close your eyes, I launched you all with typhoons I made. Cool.
What's funny is I remember you complaining about in the first episode, it didn't bother me as much in the first episode because it did seem like they were just sort of like instinctively using it, and it doesn't terribly bother me here because it's a Power Rangers trope, but I did think like, so the first time they morph, they know how to use all their abilities, their weapon, their special attacks perfectly. That's like fine. But it is that thing of like, it would have been cooler to show this in episode 3 or 4. Like what? They're busting it all out right at first. They could have waited. And which makes me think that we're barely going to see these powers. That lightning crossbow thing, we're never going to see that again. Because that seems to be what happens. Maybe not, but I feel like when they show it so early on, then it's not a big deal later.
It's one thing too where like, and this reminded me a lot of Lost Galaxy, where technically everybody can make the different forms, but I have a feeling the forms that everybody made this episode are only going to be unique to them.
Right. I would tend to agree, and I'm basing that only on the fact that I had a Mystic Force yellow figure, which I gave away for one of our giveaways, and it came with the crossbow. Yeah. So it's like, well, clearly that's what he always does. So
yeah.
And then Division.
Yeah, which
I guess, what would have made this better is if like a meteorite hit him and that made him go back, like in Beast Morphers. That would have made more sense.
Yeah. What I do want to say though, shout out to Beast Morphers, is I really miss seasons with that kind of organic build like we've gotten with the last few. Like I feel like Cosmic Fury did a pretty good job of this, and Beast Morphers, I remember like one of my favorite parts is we didn't get the Megazord for like 8 episodes.
This kick is ridiculous, and I love
it. Everything about this, I'm like, all right.
Yeah. It's And I love also that it was like that would have flattened anybody. And he's literally like, okay, you kicked me, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
the
Also,
organic build of the team, I agree with you that this was a lot more boy band, where they're just like, hey, I'm a producer, I'm putting you together.
yeah. Also, that like Nick's whole entrance felt very Sixth Ranger to me.
Yes, he's super overpowered, and
Yeah.
like, I'm going to stop you with my bare hands. But I guess the idea is that he is super powerful once he embraces it, and now he's finally embracing it.
Yeah, but definitely like, you know, a new person comes in, they, you know, go one-on-one with the villain that everybody else was struggling with, and they save the day and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. Like,
yeah, I agree that it feels like a Six Ranger, but I guess it's just them building him up to be that good, and that's why he's the leader. I had in my notes, like, I feel like the rest of the team just watches him and be awesome. And because I'm like, well, maybe they're completely incapacitated, but at the end they're like, hey, wow, good job. So at some point, they're not even demorphed, and they just like, you got this. You just go show us all your new powers, and we'll just kind of clap from the sideline.
And this is one, again, I think a lot of this is due to Sentai footage.
Yes, sure.
But still, like, this isn't bad. It's just, it's so hard because I have so many seasons before and after to compare this to now that's why I'm a little more critical than I think I would be if.
This is the part where when he first turned into a ball, I was like, that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Like, he just turned into a ball, but then
boom.
Like, well, not even that part. This part here,
when
he does the backwards kick thing. This is when I was like, oh, I see where we're going with this. That is, that's 100%. But going back to you being critical and whatever, I think expectation though also has something to do with it, because as we said going in, I kind of expected to not like this season. And I certainly don't hate it. I don't know how much I'll end up liking it, but I've seen worse seasons. You know what I mean?
So far, it's not even close to being the worst I've seen.
No.
But it is one that coming, like if we watched it organically, this would come off the heels of SPD. Watching it inorganically, it's coming off the heels of SPD and Dino Fury.
True, but even I guess I've watched other seasons more recently than you, so it's still like. Yes, but in the mix of like the last 5 or 6 seasons I've seen, it's not the worst one, like, so I do think this whole, I agree with you. This is so crazy over the top. And basically what I've come to expect from this season is lots of over the top, campy, theatric, unnecessary overkill, which could be said of any Power Rangers, that's saying something. But if they run with it and that's what it is, fine. That's the aesthetic they're going for. Super crazy over the top. If, however, it was just this episode, then it's weird. You know what I mean? Like that. Then I'm like, why did we just do that for one episode?
Yeah. One thing I meant to ask you, taking the colors out of the equation, if you were, given the ideal circumstance, which of these powers and which of the wand weapons would you want?
It's wind. I wouldn't want wind. I wouldn't want the trees. I wouldn't want water. What is red? I don't even know what red is.
Fire, I think.
I think I'd want electricity. Which is funny because I identify the most with chips so far. So maybe that's the electric spirit.
Yeah, I think I would go with the axe and some kind of earth powers. I feel like.
Oh, I didn't even think of the weapon. I was just going with the element.
I think I'm definitely like both in nature and in stature the tank of the party.
Okay, and that's funny because I didn't even think about this, but like going with weapons, I'd want the crossbow. I always prefer ranged weapons.
Yeah.
And like when I do play role-playing games, I love being like a ranger or something like that too. So it all makes sense. Their boss, I'm trying to think of the time frame for this, but he looks like Hyde from the 70s show, the way they dressed him up.
He does a little bit, yeah.
But this came out like 2002 or something, right? So
no, it came out like 2004 or 5. Okay.
Certainly not the 70s.
Yeah.
I like.
I think that this is a villain in disguise.
If it's not a villain or somebody significant, it's ridiculous. Before that, real quick, I like that they all used their magic powers to do their job and clean up. And it was fine. They didn't get in trouble for using their powers. They didn't like overdo it and blow up the store, because that's what always happens. Always, always, always. And if you had magic powers and you were a good person and you're fighting for good and you're like, you know what? I'm exhausted from fighting monsters, but I want to do a good job for my boss. That should be fine. That's not cheating. That's fine. And I'm glad it was fine, because usually it's not. And it drives me crazy.
Yeah, this was one I would have appreciated the extra 2 seconds of fake clicking
A fake clicking
on their cell phones before they did the magic kind of.
yeah. I guess I was taking it as like a wand. I didn't think. Yeah, maybe you're right.
But like you said, the codes of like, oh, levitation.
Right. Kind of like they would do with Samurai with theirs with the Shoto phones. Yeah. Yeah, she shows up. It's super suspect. She's like, I'm new in town. Who walks into a store and says I'm new in town? You can walk into any store. You could have lived there 20 years and they've never seen you before. It's a store. It's not a school. You know what I mean?
Or if it leads to something like, I'm new in town and I'm trying to find a local record store and comic book store to hang out in. Right. Thought I'd check it. You know, some preference other than I am new here. Who are you?
Yeah. Who can help me? And it also felt kind of weird and creepy how it's just like all the guys are like, oh, I'll help you. Oh, God. You know, it's like, this is weird. This feels out of
and
place.
Again, with Nick, like, I get you not wanting to, like, it's this weird catch-22 where it's like, I am hanging out with you guys at where all of you work but me. Hey, you should give him a job.
Does Nick not work there? Is he the one that doesn't work there?
Yeah, because he's new into town. He just drove in on his motorcycle hours ago.
Oh, wait. I was mixing my names. Chip does work there, though, right?
All 4 of them work there.
Okay, that's what I thought. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the guy. But this goes back to my thing of this is a small, independent record and comic shop. You and I both know for a fact they don't make a lot of money. They don't. There are 4 people working there in addition to the boss on the same day.
At the same time, always.
Yeah, and now they need a 5th person. And the boss, who's always complaining they don't work hard enough and do their jobs, is like, oh, yeah, I'll instantly hire this person to potentially get 1 sale. That is ridiculous. They don't all need to work there. Yeah. They don't. It's fine.
like it's one of those things. It's like, hey, we need another youth center juice bar situation. No, we have one at home, and this is the one at home.
Yeah. But they could have had some of them work there and some of them not and just hang out because it does look like the kind of place you can hang out. And they could have had them have different shifts. They don't all have to be working at the exact same time. An example, well, of course I'm going to say this, but Jungle Fury, I feel like was the opposite of that, where he gave them all jobs because they were going to live there. And it is a pizza restaurant, so you need more employees. It does more business. And because they were never there, it's like Fran was the only one working there half the time anyway. So it never felt like, what are all these people doing working? Whereas the 2 times we've seen the 2 episodes we've seen this, it's like they have too many employees. They just have too many employees.
They have too many employees who either are all working or all not working.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so that was a weird situation that like I don't like overall, and I don't think wasn't fully thought out, but whatever.
And that girl at the end, I assume she has to turn out to be significant.
I think she's the vampire lady.
And that good call. And that would make. I'm going to give you a preemptive ninja steal because I think you're 100% right. And that would make sense too that she would beeline for Nick because he's the leader, he's the powerful one. You got to take him out. Yeah, but last week I said like I'm kind of enthusiastic. This is better than I thought it would be. I'm enjoying it, and I feel the same. I don't think it's better or worse than I thought last week.
I think I'm excited to get past the initial like intro hump that is Power Rangers, and now we just have. All right, we did the intro. Obviously, there's going to be the first Zord, the first blah blah blah, and that's fine. But like, we don't have that whole "Who are you?" Oh, we're a team, and like we actually get content. I
don't see this as a hump. I always enjoy the beginning, almost every season. Even seasons I don't like, I always like the beginning, the first episode.
I think some are better than others, and that's thus the hyper criticism.
Absolutely, some are better than others. It's a sliding scale. But what I'm saying is, on a season, I don't want to name seasons I don't like, but we know there are seasons I don't like. On a season, like my least favorite season, generally my favorite part will be the first episode or 2. Even if it's bad, because there's just something exciting of like, because you don't know. You're like, let me meet the new actors, let me meet the characters, the new suits. So like the first whatever is always a little bit exciting and it's filled with hope. Later, those hopes might not be fulfilled, but I always enjoy the beginning. So I never look at that as a hump. The hump for me is once you get past all those firsts, which is maybe episode 5, let's say, then there's always like 5 episodes of Monster of the Week until we get to a bigger plot. That's the part I always like dread. And so I think for the next few episodes, I'm still going to have fun. And then around episode 5, 6, somewhere in there, I'm going to be like, oh, okay, Monster of the Week for a while now.
Yeah, we'll see. Do you want to do ratings on this or just general vibes?
I'll tell you what. Why don't we do thumbs up, thumbs down, or middle? Let's just keep it simple. I'm giving a thumbs up.
Okay. So I know we talked about this before, and this is both to you and the audience. So we're gonna review more,
Right.
but we're not doing episodes like Action Activate episodes dedicated to every single episode.
We had a bit of a watch list from some comments that we were looking at. Was 3 on that? I don't even remember.
Let me look. I actually have it saved still.
2 was the only one for sure we knew.
We're going to use lists that we saw in the comments and then a list that I found, and I'm going to look at all of them, and pretty much like where the overlap is probably where we're going to like buckle down to review. But other than that, like we're just going to watch a bunch of episodes and then talk about a bunch at once, as opposed to in this episode. So one of the lists that I have in front of me, it says the next relevant episodes are 8 and 9.
Okay. So we'll see the next episode. Worst case scenario, we're going to watch 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 and talk about all of them at once. That might change after we discuss it a little further, but that's, possible. And that will be potentially next week or maybe the week after, because again, this is sort of our through line during the hiatus before Cosmic Fury. But as we've seen, Hasbro had a bunch of stuff to say. There's going to be the anniversary special. We're in a good way getting extra videos. And that's good because there's at least 2 weeks we know coming up where we're not going to be able to record.
Yeah, there's 2 weeks that we're not going to record, so we're going to try to bank some now. And then we know we have the special in April, so we're about 2.5 months from 3 months from that. So assuming that we finish this around the time of that, I'm not saying we will. I'm just spitballing.
Yeah. That would be ideal.
After that, most likely we will have to find another season to watch. Yeah, and I think I know where we're going after this.
Well, I mean, I'll defer to you.
Operation Overdrive is my favorite season.
Okay,
we gotta. Hey, as a prominent Ranger actor has once said, we got to put the lies to rest. All right, we're gonna have to see what's going on here, and eventually, we're
prominent.
They're an actor who was on.
Anyway, this is Action Activate. We're not talking about anything. And that we're not talking about that. It's out there. We're not talking about that.
There are hours of footage that if you choose to try to dig up, you can, but we are spending small jokes here and there, referencing it just so you know that we know.
We know, but that we're not going to be part of that. And no shade on people that are being part of that. That's not what we're gonna do.
We have a hard enough time getting through an episode, let alone bigger topics.
Yes. But here's a thought though. When we finish Mystic Force, if we then go into Operation Overdrive, you and I separately and together have watched a fair number. Well, not some episodes. But I feel like if we're gonna start reviewing it, kind of got to start from the beginning.
I know. I've come to terms with this.
Okay. I mean, I know you're excited about rewatching them, but I hadn't really thought about it until just now.
I'm excited to watch 2 episodes from the season to solidify my feelings.
The first two, because it's always exciting, like I said, to meet all the new characters. And but until then, I've been Gazbot.
I will hopefully not combust as the big dog.
And to the power.
To the power. Thank you. You had me there for a sec.
I thought you were giving me the cue to make you combust. I made you combust.
No, you did, but then you started the end credits, which was definitely premature.
You know why? Because last video we did the opening credits and I mistake. I was like, I gotta make sure to do the end credits.
I will say that shout out to those that appreciated the goofs last week at the end. The real one stayed at the end, and we appreciate you acknowledging.
I feel like people know this, but I was going to say, I feel like people know this, but just in case they don't, almost every episode we do stuff through the credits and at the end of the credits. But this is after the credits, so if they don't know, they won't know.
This is the secret Easter egg for the Easter egg hunters.
It is.
First to the key?
What?
First to the egg?
Are you talking about
the egg hunters, the Gunters, yes.
Okay. I did not see a Ready Player One, reference coming my way. That just caught me out of nowhere. Did you read Ready Player 2?
I haven't read Ready Player 1.
Okay, never mind that.
Yeah, I know.
Did you read Armada? No, never mind. Why would you have read Armada if you didn't read those? Okay.
I haven't read any of the three.
Armada is not part of that series. It's the same writer.
Yeah, I know that, but
Okay,
I haven't read
I will say. Ready Player One, the book is way better than the movie. Ready Player Two, the book, I don't read it, and Armada is good. Is good. The end.
Bonus book lightning review by Gazbot. Take it with a grain of salt.